Well, hello and welcome back to Between Sundays. We're so thankful that you are tuning in as we continue this series on church membership, why it's important, why it's valuable. This is actually our third recording now because John and I talked too much in our last episode and we split that into two. And so if you have not listened to that yet, we would encourage you to just go back into the feed in the podcast app that you're listening to, or YouTube or whatever, and re-listen to those as we dive into some important scriptures as far as why membership is significant and important. And the focus of this podcast will be on specifically our church and how we play out the process of someone coming maybe for the very first time and then getting to the point where they say, hey, I want to make a commitment to join the church, what that process looks like and what the expectations are, kind of wrapping all that conversation into this discussion. And so let's kick off with what is the basic first step towards membership?
Sure. Well, our process in so many ways is a gate. And so it's a helpful gate to get everyone to stop and pause and then discern who's trusted Christ and those things. So the first step is certainly showing interest in, I'd like to hear more about membership. And so we have a rotating class that we do. Now that class is not set up to, by the end of the class, you're going to be a member. It's just an opportunity to spend an hour or two discussing kind of the way we function here at Rainbow Forest, our priorities, expectations of leadership that the members should have, expectation that the members should have in their own lives, and what it looks like to work together. And so, typically they fill out a Connect card, or they do send me or somebody an email and say, I'd like to jump into this membership class, or we announce it and they go, well, I guess I've been putting this off long enough. And then they come up here and we go through that class. So the contents of that class is not just in many ways, as I tell them in the class, most churches have more in common than uniqueness. And so a lot of what you'll hear is going to sound similar to most other churches, as it should. Yeah. And but we start with the gospel. We want to articulate what the gospel is and belief in the gospel that is necessary for membership. Just in case someone comes and doesn't know the gospel, they can't say they haven't heard. I let them ask questions for that. And then we transition from that right into the construct for the church. Where in Scripture do we see plurality of elders? What are responsibilities of those elders? How those elders function with the members of the church? And then we flow into what are the expectations for membership here and participation and service and small groups and some of those things. Then finally, we kind of wrap into our vision, which we hear every week, but the reason and the rationale why we have that vision. And then we move through our doctrinal distinctives, Baptist faith and message. We discuss a little bit about the bylaws. They get a copy of both of those things in our membership class. But the goal is not to convince them you should join because we're so incredible, but we want them to have a clear picture of what it looks like before they join. I see that. I heard that. I understand that. I see. And there's clear expectations, clear lines and boundaries so that people understand, this seems like achievable, or it seems reasonable as a request. And so last thing you want to do is get somebody to just maybe historically walk down the aisle. I want to become a member, sign a card as the last song's playing, that 2-minute conversation, vote for them right there. And then now what? What's it look like to be a member here? I have no idea. I just know I signed a card and now I've been voted in. Nobody knows me. Nobody knows. So that's the first step. And I think a healthy first step. And honestly, I've led those. You've attended more than any other person here at our church. Mm-hmm. I've been a part of those. And maybe I missed something in those, the nuance of that you would help clarify.
Yeah, I think maybe not necessarily help clarify. Maybe just add that there's also just some introductions that you make. You try and connect. Here are the lay elders. Here are the deacons. Sure. Here are the staff people, and because the general audience is people that are newer to our church, even though it's not exclusive, because we have people that have been coming for a long time that are still not members, that this would still be their first step. This is something that we still would want them to take. And so this is not a class for new people per se, but I think a lot of the purpose is to kind of bring that introduction full circle. And if we're revisiting the discussion that we had last time about importance of church membership, you kind of use the illustration of marriage, and so you have that commitment that two people are making, and okay, well, no one, just decides spur of the moment, hey, let's get married.
Let's make this happen.
That really does not happen.
Or if you do, and you're in Vegas, it doesn't work out very well. Typically.
Yeah, I can't imagine that work, and so would happen with church membership as well.
Sure.
if you're not understanding what it is that you're committing to. And so the purpose of the class is for people in the church to understand what they are committing to, which is why that's the first step. We want to give a full picture of this is what it is you're committing to. This is everything that we could possibly highlight or let you know about our church in this hour or hour and a half time frame to give you the confidence that you need to make that commitment. And in that, you're also carving in some time where, hey, does anybody have any questions about the processes in the church, the leadership in the church? And for me, I mean, I've heard, like you said, I've been there a lot. I've heard the content a lot, so I kind of fade in and out of the content discussion now because I've heard it a lot. So my most exciting part of those meetings is hearing what people are interested in.
Yeah, what questions they have.
Right, exactly. What they want to clarify, and because a lot of times it's built off of what they've historically experienced at church. It's not really ever related to necessarily a biblical picture of what the church is, how the church is supposed to function. It's more of like, well, I've experienced this at so and so, and why are you not doing that here? And so I think that time is really a helpful time to clarify some of those things.
Yeah, and then at the end of that, they get an application for membership within their packet of information. So we don't press them to fill that out then and there. We want them to pray through that. We want them to take that home. We'll send out an email or two to kind of remind them. But I'm not, in any particular way trying to chase these people into membership. Like if I end up having to chase them into membership, then in my mind, I'm going to also have to chase them for other things in the future. So, look, here's the class. Here's the information. We all get busy. We all need reminders. We'll happily send those reminders. But the onus is on the person to fill out the paperwork, turn that paperwork in. Those that really want to be a part of the membership, those that really want to serve, they'll fill those things out. They'll turn them in. And then after they turn those documents in, we receive them, and then we share them with the entire leadership, the eldership team. And the elders are then asked, does anybody want to reach out to them and make contact with them? And
sure. Well, let's talk about the membership application first.
Okay.
And just kind of what that looks like, because it's individual based. Yeah. So like if we have a married couple, each person is filling it out for themselves.
Yep.
And it's it probably, even that term application probably sounds a little bit more formal and procedural than really we really just, hey, how did you come to know Christ? Where have you attended church? Have you been baptized? Give us your, like, how old are you? When's your birthday? Are you married? When's your anniversary? We just want those basic, right? Those basic things, because like you said, the next step, as you were about to get into, is then pushing that to our elder leadership, and all of the elders then have kind of a reference point. They can see, like, okay, here are the basic details about this person, because many of them are not able to get into the members, the informational meeting that we have about this, where you and I are going up and having those basic introductions with people that
Sure.
that maybe some of them aren't. And so this is kind of a way to help our elders get to know the basics of someone so that they can then take this next step.
Yeah, because the big portion of that is explanation of testimony, how they came to faith, have they been baptized, which is a part of the key part of that conversation with an elder. And the reason we press those all out to the elders to have conversations, it probably be as efficient or maybe more efficient for me or you or somebody to just pick them up, call them, come up to the church, do that. But what we find fruitful is typically relationship with me, a good number of people are going to have, but a relationship with Van or Dennis or Melvin or Daryl or one of those guys, there's one of the lay elders, you might have to materialize that, but inviting them into your home or them inviting you into their home gives an opportunity for you to meet a greater expanse of leadership within our church, to already see the functionality of plurality in effect happening in the life of the church, where it's like one guy doesn't have to do everything or a couple guys don't have to do everything. And the nucleus of that meeting is just, I want to hear your testimony, what you understand about the gospel. And then I want to hear, have you been baptized and what that looks like? And the reason why is because certainly those elders know the gospel. If they're in a conversation and it's pretty clear this brother or sister doesn't understand the gospel, then they're probably going to pause the membership process and just say, hey, why don't we meet together and talk more about who Christ is and what he's done on the cross and those types of things. I don't think you're quite ready to move into membership. I'm not sure you have clarity about what the gospel is.
Yeah.
And we want people, and sharing the gospel with one of our elders too, I think it's a very clear expectation to go, if you can share it with one of our elders, then we expect as a member of our church you would share the gospel with other people. Mm-hmm. Your story, your testimony. And so many people have never done that, even in a church kind of environment. And so this is a safe place really to kind of catch a bunch of different things happening to foster a relationship with those elders and to check the box of clarity of the gospel understanding, belief in the Lord Jesus Christ. They've been baptized. They need to be baptized, whatever those things are. And so I think it's just helpful and fruitful for a lot of different purposes.
Yeah. I mean, I actually had, I think, only one instance where I was meeting with someone, they were interested and they're pursuing this, and it's like, I do not think that you understand the gospel. I don't
Sure.
know if maybe you're a believer, but I really can't confirm that because you're not giving me a firm grasp that you understand who Jesus is and what he's done for you. And so the process with them was I kind of brought that back to our elders and say, hey, would anyone have some time to be able to just pour into this family? We had an elder who was able to do that and volunteer, and the process ended up not materializing. They moved out of the state, and so like it
Sure.
it didn't happen. But that's the kind of the more or less the guardrails that we're setting up as like, this is kind of the basic expectation. This is really what this membership form is intended. Tell us your story of
Sure.
how you came to know Christ, and I also want you to be able to like communicate that to us,
Yeah,
so that
and-
you can communicate to others.
And we've had multiple people. I've not been baptized, or I've been sprinkled as an infant, or a lot of different backgrounds. And so we encourage them, as we always do. Well, we believe in believers' baptism. We believe in baptism by immersion, as it's outlined in the Bible. And so that's kind of what it's going to look like to join our church. I've never had anyone go, well, I'm not doing that. Always, yeah, man, I'm happy to do that. I see it in Scripture, make clear, compelling evidence there. Then, so those testimonies, those conversations are kind of wrapped up by the elder, and that the elder renders a decision, and like, yeah, I think it's clear that you believe in the gospel, you've been baptized, and then kind of brings that back to the rest of the team. And because
also in that is the conversation that we've been kind of encouraging some of our elders to have with these people that are going through membership is kind of hearing where they've been connected to church, because a big part of someone coming and attending here is, well, I want to make sure that you're not running from some type of church conflict or church hurt or sin in another place that is causing you to now say, well, I want to just go here now. I was going there, but I want to go here now. And there's certainly been instances where we've made those suggestions where, like, hey, I think it would be more biblical for you to, at the very least, go back and have this biblical closure and conversation with this church. If not, just simply go back and rejoin that church.
Yeah,
so that's a part of that conversation as well.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't do enough of the interviews. It's usually things I let out, but I have done a few. And one of them, that was, brother was like, well, look, I'm coming from this, and it didn't conclude well. I don't think there's sin in it, but I feel compelled to go back and have a conversation and just assure both parties are okay. So I think that's wise. I think it shows some biblical maturity. As you said, I think what we don't want to inherit is the dysfunction of other churches, or certainly someone who's under discipline from another church because they're in consistent, persistent sin that we don't know about, and have that conversation on the front end.
Yeah, because ultimately, if they are running from some type of sin or some type of conflict, well, guess what's going to happen? Yeah. They're probably going to have some type of sin or conflict here that then we as elders have to address, when, we could have just helped them, shepherded them in handling that
on the front end.
On the front end.
Absolutely. And so, those conversations collected, they're shared with the collective elder team. That's a chance for the wider expanse of the guys to be able to say, well, I've seen this, or I've heard this, or this brings me alarm, or I know they left this church and maybe they didn't confess this, but they left this church. It just gives a layer of accountability for us to discuss and then affirm. Like, look, if you say they're a believer in Christ and they've been baptized, I have no doubt that you have the wisdom to discern if that's true. So I'm going to affirm it based on your affirmation, and then essentially that conversation is had, and then we take that to the person and we schedule them to be presented before our church, because the final process is not our affirmation. Final process is the church to affirm their membership in our church. So we're not the final authority. We are a functioning authority within the church to clarify and make sure, as a gatekeeper, so to speak. But it is the church responsibility to vote people into membership to join. And so now they do that with the belief and the affirmation that our elder team has vetted them. And so even if I don't know them very well, I can trust our elder team has done due diligence on the front side of that. But there again, it is a healthy and necessary aspect of this person is going to be presented for membership, and the church has a responsibility in that to bring them into their family, not just, oh, here's another kid that we picked up on the side of the road. Yep. Now they're a part of your family, and so they are participatory, and they have now a responsibility within that process. So, and that typically concludes. Sure. I've not seen anybody get voted no. So. There again, that typically concludes the membership process. Yep. And then not only at least for us, added to our membership list and care list and so many other things, but then we continue to encourage them to walk in faithfulness towards that. Yep. And I think that the ultimate goal of this process is not to slow down people's zeal for the Lord. Because I know I've certainly heard that, it seems like it's just going to some people are not going to become members then. What it is for us is it's good gatekeeping to make sure that unbelievers are not a part of our church, and then as they belong to our church and become members of our church, they can see fruitfulness spread across our church and not have a little leaven the whole lump. And then all of a sudden we're making unbiblical decisions, and we are moving headlong in sin, and we have people that are not believers leading and teaching and helping in areas of ministry. And so those things are just unwise. So if it causes us to slow down, I will happily walk before the Lord and give an account for the slowdown, rather than the haphazard measurement of affirming people as believers who were not.
Yeah, we don't need to bow to the American culture of like it must be done now
Sure.
at this pace. We can
Efficiency's not
move
king.
slow.
Sure. But I think that's the beauty of the process, and I encourage everyone to consider the process. You know, just coming to the class does not make you a member. It's not compel us. We're not going to pursue you. I just said that. It is a chance to come and see. That's why I always present it that way. But it is an opportunity, as we've said in our previous podcast, to know who we are going to be ultimately responsible for, and who have committed to us, and we've committed to them in unity, with the purpose of exalting Christ and spreading His glory across the world. And so that's why I have a membership process. It's a fruitful one. Other people have different ones. I know there could be a lot of things tweaked in it, but I think it's been fruitful for us here.
Yeah, and ours may change at some point as
Sure.
well. But right now, this is what the process is, and the class is, like you said, it's for everybody. Like if you have, it would be fruitful, most certainly if you are new and don't know a lot about the church. But there would be fruit for even people that have been our church, even members for a long
Certainly.
time. But certainly it's a good first step for anyone who has not officially joined the membership of the church. This is a
Certainly.
good, positive first step, and hopefully it gives you a full picture of what it looks like to become a member here. We actually left a lot about membership, I think, unsaid, that maybe we'll have to revisit at another point.
Absolutely
But this was
will.
certainly the wrap as far as what it looks like, how the process goes, and if we have any questions, please let us know. We'd be happy to bring you through that process.